I'm Lorienne and I'm the Rewilding Landscapes Manager at Nattergal.
Great. And who are Nattergal?
Nattergal's an organisation started 4 years ago, founded amongst others by Charlie Burrell at NEP, and NEP quite literally having written the book on rewilding and being an amazing case study about what rewilding brings to nature recovery. Got together with a bunch of other people recognising that we have a biodiversity and a climate change crisis, and that rewilding has a really important part to play in tackling those crises, but critically, how do we fund this? This is the critical question for nature recovery, which lots of people have been grappling for years. So our mission is to make nature an investable asset class. So looking at all levels of investing in nature and really appreciating what nature does for us in terms of the ecosystem services, but also what that can bring us in terms of natural capital funding, for example. So we're an organisation that started, as I said, 4 years ago, rapidly growing. We have 3 sites at the moment. Today we're at Harold's Park, which is our site in Essex. So just half an hour outside of the beating heart of London. We've got a site in Lincolnshire, which is an arable reversion site going to rewilding, and then we've got a lowland peat site in Norfolk as well. So we've got these 3 sites where we're proving a concept of how we can take land that wasn't necessarily the easiest to farm and make a profit out of, and we can use these land holdings in a different way, and we can rewild them essentially. We can give them back to nature, but in doing that we can have little kickstarters and interventions that helps nature to move a little bit quicker in terms of the recovery, but also we can gain from that things like flood alleviation, air quality improvement, the sequestering of carbon. And we can fund that through various different mechanisms. One of that is biodiversity net gain, which is relatively new statutory policy where if you have a development in an area, you have to offset plus 10%. So biodiversity net gain being one mechanism, voluntary carbon being another, voluntary biodiversity credits being another one that's developing market. And of course, because we've got these amazing sites where nature is coming back to and it's flourishing, there is so much hope in the transformation that's going on our sites. So another really important mechanism for us is ecotourism. So we run a variety of different tours on our sites. Here we are today having a lovely tour of Harold's Park. So you can come and learn more about the site, learn about the transformation, the journey, the history, the vision.
So Harold's, where we're at now, that's the most recent acquisition of Nattergal,
yes,
right?
It's just over sort of a year and a half in. So we bought that in April last year. And we spent a year understanding the site, and that's really, really important. We bought it in April, which is big, sort of just after the beginning of the survey season, so really quickly surveying for lots of different types of things, particularly on the biodiversity, but also the carbon, and understanding the site, how it was before. And that's really important because for natural capital, we're always looking for that uplift in carbon and uplift in biodiversity, so we need to understand what it was when we bought it. So we're just quite early on in the journey of rewilding Harold's Park. It used to, many years ago, 1,000 years ago, be the former hunting park for King Harold Godwinson. So you can imagine wood pasture, so grassland grazed by lots of deer, riding your horses through branches, kind of being cut at certain heights so you could have a clear vision of kind of riding after your deer that you were hunting. So big oak trees in the middle, that's what kind of the element of wood pasture brings. And we're looking to bring back wood pasture as well as scrub, which is a really important habitat. It's kind of often missing in our landscapes. It's kind of the messy, thorny area that is the first successional stage after the grassland to become woodland in the end. But we won't have complete woodland here in the future. We will have our big herbivores, so we call them large herbivores, but you've got cows, pigs, ponies, free roaming within the couple of 100 hectares here, and they will manage the land for us through all the different things that they do, grubbing up the land, grazing, browsing, going to the toilet, lying down and flattening the grass, everything they do. They're kind of proxies for the wild animals that used to be here when this was sort of a kind of scrubland, savanna, woodland pasture.
So
mix.
in terms of the site, like what can you tell? Like, you obviously only had it for a year and a half. So in what state was it? Did you inherit it, if you like? Say,
Yes.
I know you didn't inherit, you bought it, but what state did you get it in, and what kind of tangible impact can you see now? And where are they? Is there like a 10-year plan for it or so on, where you like see it being 10 years?
Yeah, sure. So this land was just over half arable and just over half pony paddock, so livery stable, and like less than half arable. So that mix and 2 good pieces of woodland within that as well that weren't necessarily being actively managed for wildlife or for timber. The pony paddocks was a horse riding livery that had closed down a couple of years before. So we had some grassland paddocks that were already rewilding themselves. And then we had a tenant farmer who had actually kind of come to the decision himself because it's hard land to make a profit out to sort of.
Did he farm? What did he farm?
So the typical 3 rotation. So it would have been a wheat, barley, oilseed rape, and beans probably mixed in as well on the odd year. So he'd already.
But that was not like gang. That was farmed with pesticides and so.
So kind of a very moving towards regen ag principles, absolutely, like a lot of farmers are now, which is really great, particularly for the soil health. But monocrops essentially. So that's what the state of the land was when we bought it. Pony pasture that had not been grazed for a while, and monocrop agriculture. And we did that baselining. We understood kind of what the habitats were, what the biodiversity was, and then from understanding that and talking to people, bringing in experts, we developed a plan for the site basically. And this is a kind of really important nuance of rewilding because we don't have like an end state in mind.
No.
And I don't think nature works that way either. There is no kind of, it just evolves. So we don't exactly know what will happen here, but we know the processes from projects like NEP. We know what will happen as we kind of seize agriculture in particular. And we've got some little kickstarters to help nature along the way. So we've done things like, we had a lot of conifers on site, so a lot of non-native trees that were used for Christmas tree plantations. I think it was 11,000 trees across the estate were planted, but a lot of those weren't felled for Christmas trees, so they'd got really, really big and created these massive, very dark, kind of closed canopy conifer woodlands. So we've thinned those out so that the natural vegetation that was coming, particularly things like silver birch coming quite nicely through, blackthorn, hawthorn, that has light and space to grow. So that's one of the big interventions that we've done so far, and that's still underway now. In fact, these logs that we're sitting on are from that. This is also a little bit of hornbeam and a little bit of oak because the woodlands here, they hadn't been thinned. And so if you've got too many trees in a smaller patch, they just don't have.
They're constrained,
to
right? To go.
So it's better to have fewer nice kind of spaced trees. Oak in particular, it likes light. It likes to spread its branches out. It's a really good woodland pasture tree. So it by kind of felling a few around it, halo thinning, you're giving that one oak the space to become the future kind of 1,000-year-old.
So oak. I guess like what I mean in like a long-term plan. Like I mean, like if you took samples when you got here of the pH value of the soil, you obtained to actually you like to get the soil back in this kind of condition. Obviously, it takes years to actually rid of damage being done to it, but what kind of stage we say the biodiversity element of it is now? Is it how do you even quantify that?
It depends on what you're trying to measure. So you take the soil as an example because crops were grown. There's a lot of fertilizer put in. So the soil here would have been really heavy in nitrogen and phosphorus. So some people, when they seize agriculture, they put in like a phosphorus-hungry crop. We decided not to do that. The soil here probably wouldn't have cropped very well with those kind of brassicas in particular. We've just decided to let it go, and so it will take a good few years for those high nutrients to kind of come out. We've created a little bit of a wildflower meadow in one where we've put some green hay down, and we've introduced pigs. That's the big thing really. So we've got 3 little pigs, Iron Age pigs, so half wild boar, half Tamworth domestic pig, and they're helping do the job essentially for us. They're turning over the soil, getting that seed bank back to the top, doing all the wonderful things that they do as the large herbivores, kind of actively kind of managing the land. And in time we'll introduce ponies and cows as well to help manage that. So that the soil, it needs animals, it needs that defecation, it needs actually kind of leaving carcasses out, which you're not allowed to do yet in the UK, but that would be wonderful for the soil, for example. Going back to the natural processes, even just having the vegetation that's come from just ceasing agriculture, arable agriculture here, having that vegetation that naturally dies back in around this time of the year when we're getting into winter, that fertilises the soil, and then we're building up the soil health. So really important, particularly with more and more flooding on a lot of sites or in the boundaries of a lot of sites, is how much that soil and that vegetation can help be a sponge, soak it up. So improving the soil health for us is about increasing how much roots go down into the soil and aerate that soil and help those nutrients to move around. So something like a dock, which is kind of seen as a bit of a weed if you want, but it's a wonderful, you've got dock beetles that just survive on and docks. They've got an amazing great big tap roots that go down, so that's helping water infiltrate the soil. And you're looking at all the kind of mycorrhizal fungi that can establish, because you've got natural vegetation dying off there and you've got animals disturbing the soil. You've got all the invertebrates that are helping move the soil around and aerate the soil and allow water to move through as well. So soil is really critical, soil health. And
so I noticed when we had a walk around and your oak trees, and there was lots of acorns on the ground and kind of stuff. So is that part of the process? You're not going to pick them up, you let them stay on the ground and they are part of the kind of ecosystem and regenerative kind of philosophy?
We're really lucky, and it's one of the really special things on this site is that we've got lovely big old oak trees, that kind of going back to that wood pasture of history. So we've got lots of oak trees that will provide, and this year has been a really good year for acorns. It's called a mast year, where we get lots of acorns, and the pigs that we've got in there will feed on those acorns and help move them around site. And then you've got birds like jays that are wonderful agents of dispersal really for acorns. So they can stack lots of acorns in their gullet, and they go and pick them all up, fly off to another part of the site. Obviously when that was being farmed, those acorns that were being planted would never be allowed to germinate and grow, but here, because we're giving it all back to nature, we want those to grow, so they will plant some for themselves and come back and feed on them, and some will get eaten by maybe field mice or whatever, but some of them will be forgotten and they will grow into the kind of future oaks, really, so they could be here in 1,000 years time. So it's really exciting.
And so you mentioned ecotourism. So is that something you're doing now? And if you are, what can ecotourism expect to see now? Is it?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. So NEP is sort of over 20 years into its rewilding journey, and they have got lots of wildlife back already. We're at the very start of our journey, so this wildlife is slowly coming back. But what's really exciting is that people are so interested in coming and seeing this, because it's almost like ground zero. It's like you get to see it now when it hasn't been rewilded, and then you get to come back and you get to see and be part of that transformation. There's so much hope here. So yes, you can come. We've advertised on
so is that like
Nattergal
in what direction does it take? So is that like is that to like educational kind of trip for school, or is it like corporate kind of is it individuals who comes and
it can be both, definitely. So on our website we will see individual tours advertised, so you can come and come round with our site manager Tom, and he'll take you on a couple of hour tour, and you'll go and hopefully see the pigs on the way and see some wildlife and look at the transformation. So you go for a nice walk around the site, learn about the history, learn about the vision. So that's individual tours, but also corporates who maybe want an away day can come and hire the boardroom here, have your meeting, but then maybe in the afternoon you go out and you do some volunteering with us, or you go out for a tour in the afternoon and learn about what's the transformation that's happening here. So you can kind of got corporate package, and then we're developing maybe some health and well-being. We'd be really interested to know whether people want to use this site for kind of health and well-being, and we'll also be working with local schools when the facilities allow us to.
So health and well-being, I guess you tell into the fact that there's some studies being shown that actually the best form of actually therapy is actually can we call nature therapy, going out in nature and actually not actually getting out from actually your desk and stuff and go and see nature.
Yes, absolutely, and they're absolutely right. There's been so many studies that have shown that by spending time in nature, cortisol levels, lots of great benefits, just physically and sort of mental well-being as well. So
you mentioned volunteering. Is that something that's just you just offer through like a a corporate employer or anyone who's interested in volunteer can get in touch with you.
You can also volunteer. Again, go to the website nattergal.com and you'll see that there's opportunities there with the site manager Tom. We're planting an orchard on some of the periphery land. So on our borders we're putting in a bit of a mixed orchard and a hazel coppice and a hornbeam coppice. So you can come and plant some of those trees. So some of what we do needs to be a little bit more active management on the site. So that's a wonderful thing that's happening over the winter, putting in those trees and then sort of helping prune them and stuff in future years. So that will be a wonderful volunteer job and really nice and tangible. So you can come and spend some time out here and then leave and kind of, be a bit muscle aching from digging lots of holes, but you can kind of look back and go, yeah, I did that, they're there now, and then they're protected because this site's going to be for nature and for people.
And are you doing any work? Are you because I guess that the fascinating about this is like actually the changes that's happening, right? Are you doing any work on capturing what it was that we got in then at the journey as you go on?
So there's different ways of kind of capturing that. So I think the science is really important. So we really are very strong in having a robust scientific understanding, but more of a kind of storytelling way. For example, as we walk around today, you'll have seen posts in the ground and they've got a little groove on the top, and so you put your camera in and you take a picture from that same position every time, and we'll get little QR codes so that eventually you'll be able to take a picture of the QR code and upload it straight onto the website. And that, if you download the app as well, you're able to kind of see that same landscape that you're looking at and anyone else that's taken a picture. So if you think fast forward 1, 2, 5, 10 years time, you'll be able to see the landscape as it was now. And so you'll be able to see it pre-rewilding and then 1 year into rewilding, and then we've got cows. So you'll be able to see that transformation. And what we're able to do then is run that into almost like a time lapse of the kind of transformation of the site over time. And that kind of is really powerful visual way of showing it. Also, we have a drone, so we can take aerial shots. So that was often, as a landscape scale, a really impressive way of showing the change that's happening on the site.
So obviously you have to think about also you are a business, so you have to make some kind of return on investment as well. So is that looking like that obviously come to your various ecotourism, but I guess there's also some kind of element of food production being done within the limit of what rewilding offers. So that I'm looking both of anything like from animals, but also from actually arable kind of activities.
Yeah, so we definitely will, when we get more stock, we'll manage that stock, because there are no what we call apex predators, no wolves and bears and lynx anymore. So we'll manage those, but that's great because that food will go into the local food chain, so the pigs and the cows, and the venison already is as well from the deer on the site. So definitely creating local meat sources. We're also actually just behind us, the area that we're sitting now is the old menage, where you used to kind of do your dressage, and then this was a horse livery. So we're considering whether we could do some kind of wilding garden. Nep's done a wonderful walled garden, wilding garden, and it's got a market garden, so it would be wonderful to use this area in particular potentially for a wild garden that also maybe something like a food forest, where we can look at having a bit more management and take some, so not kind of monoculture arable crops, but more of a market garden to grow sort of seasonal fruit and veg.
So stuff like your orchard, that would be something that could then yield in
so we've got orchard strips along the edges as well, with the various so damsons.
Is there I know you told me about the acorns you let them lie down, but is there any kind of other nuts you could grow that potentially could be going to your food production cycle kind of thing?
So I mean, you could grow something like walnuts and hazelnuts as well. So walnuts are not native, but there's a lot of products you can make from walnuts, and it's also a lovely wood as well. So you can think about that as a timber. And then hazelnuts as well. So the hazel coppice that we're putting in, you manage it kind of on a rotation, so it's at different stages in its life cycle, but they get very long beam poles from that, so that can be quite good as a woodland source. But mostly the hazelnuts will get eaten by squirrels, if I'm honest. But you can also do that with lovely hazelnuts as well.
I think we're going to wind up shortly, but just briefly before. So if you could just say about what your day looks like. Are you permanently based here, or do you travel between Nattergal's different car sites?
Yeah, my average day is very different, and this is a lovely one because I get to be on site. But a lot of what I do is behind the laptop, kind of.
Yeah. Some admin work as well. Yeah.
Admin work and strategic work and planning and looking at helping look at the data. We've got a data
science work
as well.
Yeah.
We've got a whole NatCap team of ecologists and data scientists, so I kind of work between the operations, what's happening on the ground, and that NatCap. But no, it's really exciting, and I love the variety, and I feel really privileged to spend days like this showing people how amazing sites can be when we just give a little bit of space and protection and time to nature, and how that can really repay us in a plethora of ways.
Yeah. And then shortly as well, like how do you see like the increased focus on nature, and also the increased announcement various new rewilding initiatives in the UK, and so it's something that since NEP has really kind of taken a hold and stuff like this. That's something you see continuing, and do you see like finally making a step between a more kind of a nature-friendly kind of environment?
Oh, I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? So to have more space for nature. But I think the critical question and the critical barrier for this is who's going to fund it, and that is exactly why Nattergal was formed, to overcome that barrier of lack of funding for nature. So as I said at the beginning, to get investment into nature so that we can scale it, and so by seeing nature as an investable asset class, we can create sites like Harold's Park, in every county and beyond, in the UK and beyond, across the globe, working always with the local communities, rooting those sites in what is right for the local communities and what is right for the local habitats and the local context. But the clever thing is kind of matching that kind of rewilding vision with the appropriate funding source. And it's not about being driven by that funding source, it's about a really innovative team working across business and finance and nature and conservation and land management, working together, which I think is what is really special about Nattergal. So I mean, that's what we're here for.
So if you want to find out more about your stuff, or either visit or invest, how can they learn more about what you're doing?
So get in contact with us. Visit the website, nattergal.com. Info there's a contact us page, and that will come through to us, and whichever.
Are you using any social media platforms to do what you're doing?
Thank you for the reminder. Yes, find us on LinkedIn. Our Facebook is more to do with the local sites. That's more local. But follow us on Insta. But LinkedIn's probably one of the key ones there. But yes. Have a Google, have a read, come to us, and whatever your query, your angle might be, you'll be passed through to the right person.